Hey folks, Jackdaw here. We have a brand new all by design Dragon Age Dreadwolf news update, giving us a glimpse into what we can expect from the game's intricate skill trees to its advanced AI and RPG mechanics. There's a lot to go over today, so let's sit back and relax as we dive into the latest Dragon Age Dreadwolf developments. So just yesterday, BioWare released a brand new community update all about design. Now, instead of reading all of this blog entirely, I'm going to summarize over the main features of this blog. So first of all, we have game design 101. This section explained the role of different types of game designers in development of video games, clarifying that when BioWare use the term designer in the context of game development, it does not refer to somebody who creates visuals or outfits, but rather someone who helps create the player's journey in a collaborative process with other game development professionals. The section then described three different types of game designers: system designers, user experience designers, and technical UX designers. System designers create features that impact the player's experience, while UX designers explore how players will interact with these features and create mock-ups and early user flows. Technical UX designers then build these features in engine, keeping the player's experience and usability in mind. Additionally, this section touched upon other types of game designers, such as gameplay designers, technical level designers, technical UI designers, cinematic designers, and narrative designers, all of whom play a crucial role in creating a cohesive gaming experience. The next main feature of this article was about branches of the tree, that being skill trees. So skill trees are a fundamental part of a deep RPG experience and give the player the ability to customize how their character functions in combat. A key belief of the Dragon Age team is that when a player invests a skill point, it should have a clear, tangible effect on the game, such as an ability or an impactful perk. What those are and how they're implemented in-game is handled by multiple designers, starting with a systems designer. Speaking of which, Luke Barrett discussed the problem-solving process when envisioning something new, where a problem statement is presented that needs to be solved. These statements can be high level for larger systems and can combine into different ideas to solve the problem. To narrow down the solutions, constraints and player statements are introduced, such as a player, I want my choice to matter. Working sessions and brainstorming meetings are then held to identify the type of solutions to pursue, and competitive analysis is done by creating a vision board with pictures of skill trees, talents, etc. The pros and cons of each option are listed, and the number of unique nodes and how far the player could vest are also counted. In continuation of his previous statement, Luke Barrett explained the next step of the design process, which involves creating a vision document or brief that pulls together all the information collected from the problem statements, constraints, and user statements. We've got a small skills brief here that gave an overview on an all-encompassing progression system to convert points gained from level up into additive character power growth. Now, this design document encapsulates the design goals and how they aim to solve the identified problems. Luke then provided an example of two original statements and the corresponding bullet points listed under them. The first statement is about driving the character's power through node acquisition, and the bullet point highlights that each purchase must feel meaningful. Every node purchased should add an additive power gain, and a variety of nodes should grow the character in multiple ways. The second statement is about exploring the various nodes in the skill tree and making a plan, and the bullet point highlights that the player must be able to navigate the skill tree regardless of investments. Nodes should have clear descriptions and videos where applicable, and the player must understand how many total points they have to work with. Luke emphasizes that the design team wanted to create a character building system that allowed the player to reach their quote player fantasy. Therefore, they designed a system that could be customized widely as opposed to more linear progression systems. Luke then continued to explain that once enough constraints and player statements have been gathered, the design team can finally begin building the design. This involves creating prototypes and working with user experience designers to flesh out ideas and see how the design will feel both on its own and within the context of the rest of the game. Luke also shared a fun fact that he built an early prototype in Excel using buttons and scripting to explore different ways of solving the problem statements. However, he notes that designers are not programmers, and this was just a preliminary exploration. The blog showed a very early prototype of a skill tree functionality exploration, names being placeholders but definitely referring to a warrior class. The design process continues as the vision for a feature is established by the game designer and then handed over to the UX designer to explore how players will interact with it. Bruno Porio, a UX designer on Dreadwolf, explained that their job is to approach design from a player experience perspective, partnering with other developers to shape the vision for player interactions with the game. Using the example of a brand new skill tree, Bruno described how they take the early vision from the system design team and develop what the features will look and feel like, starting with sketches, interactive wireframes, mock-ups, or in-game prototypes. They then validate these designs through testing and multiple rounds rounds of feedback. The system informs the experience design, and the experience designs help shape the system, creating a collaborative process between two teams. Of course, we got this initial skill tree wireframe. The total node count and layout are very subject to change, but even this just gives us an idea on Dreadwolf's skill tree. And oh boy, does it look fantastic, just the amount of abilities available, and the fact that quite a few of these link into each other. Don't want to make too many bold speculations based on something that is very much unconfirmed, but I do get the idea that we may potentially have some kind of cross-class kind of combination going on here. Something that kind of ties to the previous concept art pieces we've seen, with the Veilfire-like archer who's a mage but also a rogue, and then we had that Tevinter Minrathis witch who seemed like they were a rogue but also obviously a witch at the same time. It's definitely something that we all want to see, and I get an inkling that it could be a reality with the skill tree, and I'm very interested in what that middle core skill tree could be. Are they just very much soft skills that each player has access to? Are they unique abilities? I don't know how much of a leap Dreadwolf is going to take in terms of its class approach. Dragon Age has always been kind of archaic in its skill trees, with obviously only being able to be one class and then delving into specializations based on said class. And class just has such a pivotal role to play within the game's story, so it kind of all makes sense. But if you look at Mass Effect Andromeda's recent developments, it kind of found a way that allowed the game to be a lot more fun while removing the limitations that a class system has had on a BioWare RPG. So who's to say Dreadwolf won't follow suit? BioWare may have a little experiment with it for gameplay reasons. Maybe our new hero has a reason why they can use magic. Maybe they're intrinsically connected to something that would discount dwarf players, so who knows? Or maybe certain types of characters like an elf, an executor, if we're getting origin stories, whatever, they're equipped to follow certain skill trees. Maybe it just links back to specializations. I'm probably just overthinking on brand, but I'm pretty interested in the idea of having like a flexi skill tree where I could be like a warrior rogue or a mage archer. That concept art piece really has influenced that idea. But anyway, continuing back to the blog, Bruno discussed further the role of a UX designer in shaping how players interact with the game. Bruno collaborates with other developers to develop the vision for how players will engage with the game, from in-world signs to user interfaces. Using the skill tree feature as an example, Bruno describes how the team creates sketches, wireframes, and prototypes to test and validate their designs. After multiple rounds of iteration, the team finalized the design for this skill tree, which emphasized simplicity and accessibility while still allowing for a high degree of customization. Bruno concludes by highlighting the close collaboration between game designers, UX designers, and technical UX designers in developing and refining game features. Kelsey Wickentowicz explains that after the game design is finalized, it is passed over to a technical designer who is responsible for implementing the design. Technical UX designers are a new position at BioWare that bridges the gap between UX, programming, and artists as UI technology changes and advances. They use mockups provided by UX designers as a starting point to build out the UI in-game, including the layout and navigation of the screen. Each UI is a collaborative effort between the experience designer team and other pillars of the game team. They work with programmers and game designers to figure out how to gather the data they need to display to the player. Large features like the character screen coming alive with other departments such as character design and lighting are pulled in to bring it all together. However, the work doesn't stop once the feature is functionally in-game. At this point, the team evaluates how the features feel and read to the player. They ask themselves if navigation works well or if the information is overwhelming or confusing. Design changes and iteration continues until the right balance is found between the designer's vision and the player experience. Design is a topic that the team could talk about endlessly, from features like the detailed stats pages that cater to RPG enthusiasts to handcrafted locations that players can explore. It is of course a subject that the team will touch on likely again in the future when they discuss other parts of game development. And then the final category we have here is I suspect you have questions, of course, to which many of us do. Quoting BioWare verbatim on this one, they said, "This year we also wanted to provide you all with a direct way of asking us questions. Now, we can't answer every question, but we'll try to answer what we can in our upcoming BCUs. There will undoubtedly be some that we'll have to save for later though. Questions like, when will a big reveal trailer drop? When, BioWare? When? Or when does the game come out? Of course, one of the biggest questions going on right now. These are things that will be saved for official announcements. However, if you have any questions about BCU topics, including past ones, the games we've made, or other relevant questions that come to mind, please feel free to ask. Of course, you can ask on Twitter, ask in community subreddits and community Discord servers, where BioWare look forward to answering them. Ultimately, they say thank you for reading this blog. Everything they're doing currently is in hopes of creating something sounding great for all of us, and getting to talk more about that is something that they're eager to do. BioWare have a lot more they want to talk about too. So no foreshadowing statements there on seeing Dragon Age Dreadwolf this year or hearing more about it besides these BCUs, which is probably a good way to start because they're not over-promising anything and we can at least expect something, that being more of these blocks. But in summary, I'd say this article was really good. It explored the different roles of game design and game development and BioWare's involvement in creating RPG systems with a huge focus on UI and skill trees. Definitely sounds like BioWare have a really good collaborative approach with the systems designers, UX designers, and the technical UX designers, each of them contributing in their own way to create a functional, intuitive system that enhances the player's experience. And this article also heavily emphasized the collaborative process involved in building each of these systems and the importance of a clear vision statement, constraints, and player statements. By examining the upcoming systems in Dreadwolf, this blog has been able to illustrate how different types of game designers work together to create engaging and personalized gaming experiences. And one day, we'll be able to see that all for ourselves when that glorious moment comes. But as some final wrap-up opinions from myself, it's very interesting that there has been no official statement from BioWare regarding Mac Walters' recent departure. Apparently he left late last year and BioWare has yet to report on that. I do wonder why. Also, the lack of acknowledgement regarding the recent leak. I don't expect BioWare to be out here like, yo, yeah, that happened, but still interesting. And it certainly made me curious about the circumstances surrounding Walters' departure and also the authenticity of that leak. In any regard, while this hasn't been a mind-blowing update, it's still really cool to have a look at the AI, learn about some of the designers and their collaborative approach, and also just seeing and examining this new kind of skill tree that BioWare are going for. Definitely feels like we're going to have a customizable approach. I just live for the day when we can see it. But of course, until the next Dragon Age update, you're already in the right place for all that good, juicy stuff. Until the next one, I've been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.